Alrighty, hey, welcome to today's episode of the 50-50 show. This is Omar, this is Omair. Today we're going to break down some of yesterday's best NBA games and then preview some of tomorrow's. Don't think we'll have time. Today's. Don't think we'll have time to get to any NFL, but there was an interesting Rams versus Vikings game.
Interesting to say the least.
We caught the first half and, well, it looked pretty doomed. But let's focus on NBA. The first game we want to talk about is the Pistons. Now 21-19, 2 games above 500. Beating the Knicks, who are 26-15, one of the top teams in the East, 124-119. Cade Cunningham continuing his just surge of dominance from the end of 2024 into 2025. 36 points, low assists for him, only 4, but only 2 turnovers. Malik Beasley going off 6 of 8 from 3. And the Knicks were not pushovers. Brunson with 32 and 11, Cat with 31. Like, they were scoring. Omair, here's the question I have for you. Are the Pistons a legitimate contender in the East?
No. Can I go now? No, I'm kidding. They're not contenders. Okay, I definitely think they can contend to make it to the playoffs, which is cool. Great for the city of Detroit. Great for the Pistons. Historically, if I told a Detroit Piston fan last year that in 2025 you will be a legitimate contender for the playoffs, they'd probably slap me in the face and tell me I'm stupid. Okay, but I'm not anymore. So, why do I think the Pistons are a contender for the playoffs besides their record being solid? Well, it all comes down to Cade Cunningham. I'm a big fan of his game, and he's absolutely the leader of this team and the leader of their renaissance, and renaissance into becoming a mediocre team, bad to mediocre. Okay, so what does everyone talk about with Cade? It's his playmaking, and his playmaking is good, despite the turnovers. It's still good playmaking. Without him, the team would have nothing to work off of, right? So then what I also like with Cade is the scoring, especially we saw with this game. 36 points, only 4 assists. He was the scoring leader of this team. And the reason that's really important is because he leads the offense. Okay, his 3 balls improving. I don't think the amount of threes he's hitting like these last few games is going to last, but it represents improvement from the last 3 or 4 years. He's steadily improving his 3-ball, and with his driving game, with his finishing, being 6'6", if he gets a reliable outside jump shot, he will really be a threat in the East. And then a big thing with the Pistons, we need to look at their identity. When I watched the game yesterday, it's their defense. There's so much grit, bordering on almost dirty. I see the Knicks players drive in. They're flopping everywhere. They're getting the ball stripped from them. I'm like, the Pistons got to be cheating. He's making Big Bodega look dumb. And Nobi can't score a layup. What's happening? You rewatch it. No, it's clean. It's good, hard defense. So the Pistons very much had that defense. You have Asar Thompson, an absolute stud on the defensive end. Jalen Duren, I know he has foul trouble, but he's still good on defense. He's giving Cats some problems. I'll get into that. Cade Cunningham is probably the worst defender, but he's not too bad, right? And it's that defense. Then on the offensive end, Cade is bringing it. He's bringing everything they need with the points and the intensity. He's the perfect leader for this team. I was watching the game. He drives it on the Knicks, scores an and one, finishes, keeps running, hits the base of the hoop, his head right into it, not phased one bit. He keeps celebrating. He's roaring to the crowd because he's that gassed up that his team can beat the Knicks. And I just love that. That's exactly what I want to see from a leader. So then, that's the defense. On the Knicks side, and the reason why I don't think the Pistons are a contender is because they're good. They surprised the Knicks, but they're not better than the Knicks. Don't get it twisted, okay? The Knicks had 6 more turnovers, which is quite unacceptable. And if you looked at it, you could really tell the Knicks seemed shocked. They weren't ready for the Pistons' defense. And so I think the Knicks would take that to heart, and they're going to review the film. And next time they play, it's going to be a much cleaner game. I think they're going to be more ready for the Pistons defense. Because you can see the adjustments, right? In the beginning, they're running their half-court sets, letting Cat get into the paint, not working. Then they start running more motion offense, get some movement from Mikal Bridges. He's playing well. What do we see? They start doing better. Now imagine that level of adaptation for the whole game. We're looking at a different result. I truly believe that. And then finally, my final point, I want to talk about the Big Bodega because he had a good game. But this matchup, it's a bit of a struggle for him because Jalen Duren is quite strong. I know some people mentioned that Cat need to get more in the post, 4-9 from 3. But no, don't get it twisted. He had to shoot those threes, and I'm glad he hit 4. Because Duren will be a hard matchup to post up on because they're the same weight while Duren being 2 inches shorter. He's simply stronger than the big Per, so it'd be difficult for him to post up.
Yeah, lot to unpack there. First of all, yeah, I think the Knicks are still the better team. I, of course, don't think they're a contender. I wanted you to be able to talk about how good they are, though.
Which I did.
I will say, so, yeah, Pistons 11 turnovers, Knicks have 16, Brunson has 4, Cat has 6. That's not normal. That's not acceptable. That's a big reason of why the Knicks lost. And also, Malik Beasley had to hit some pretty clutch threes at the end of the game to even win the game. Here's some things I want to cover. First, Tobias Harris. Look at Philly right now. Look at where they were a year ago. Philly's record last year, as of this date, is pretty much what Detroit's is this year. Right in that 6th seed kind of vibes. What's the link? What's the overlap? Tobias Harris. He is the best player on the Pistons. He's given them that winning culture. I want to shout out Tobias Harris. Even this game where he went 3 of 12. He was a team leading plus minus because he was doing all the little things. I liked how he was helping on all the double teams on Brunson. I liked how he was just jabbing in on any sort of drives. I liked his rebounding hustle. I liked his screens. I'm just saying I liked a lot of what Tobias offered, even if his stats don't pop off from the box score. I know he only had like 4 assists, 3 rebounds, but I just liked everything I saw. Also, of course, Cade Cunningham continuing his improvement. I'm really impressed. At this point, I would firmly say Cade Cunningham is better than De'Aaron Fox.
What?
And I'm not.
No way.
I bring up De'Aaron Fox not as a shot. That's like a guy who I think, like, you're a pretty good starter if you're better than De'Aaron Fox with that amount of usage.
If you're actually better than De'Aaron Fox, you're a real good starter. But he's not there yet.
So I have Cade above him, and I love the rate at which he's gone because if he, a lot of people always talk about, well, if he keeps up this improvement, blah blah blah. Most people don't improve like that, right? It's you improve, then you plateau, then you improve again. Cade is actively improving in front of our eyes. Like, I'm seeing him get better and better, and I still see room for growth. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but there's some things I want Cade to get better at in terms of decision-making on the offensive end that if I think he can fix, he could start approaching that Tyrese Halliburton level, which is elite in the East. You're not going to be Jalen Brunson or anything, but you're going to be a good guard in the East, and maybe you could even win the first round. Probably not this year, but next year, Detroit could actually look to win the first round of the playoffs and bring home some of that winning mentality again. So let's talk about some Pistons players in specifics. Jalen Duren, absolutely sad, borderline pathetic. He fouls out with 4 minutes to go. With 5 fouls, he's guarding Jalen Brunson on the perimeter. Free throw merchant that he is. Love the guy, but come on, he gets you on his butt and he just puts that shot up, right? And that's pretty much what he did. He did a little step back. He put his body into Jalen Duren as like a mini D-Wade move. Duren had his hands up like this, and then he's like confused why the foul's getting called on him because Brunson always gets that foul called on him. I'm not blaming Brunson. I'm not blaming the refs. I'm blaming Duren. Like, why are we in this situation? Mm-hmm. We need to call for a switch. We need to call for whatever we can because you can't be fouling out. That's when the game got really close, in my opinion, when you had to run Isaiah Stewart as your center.
Nope.
And then I want to talk about some of the offense that I saw from Detroit and some of the defensive breakdowns from New York. Cade, he beat McHale off the dribble. Like, it was just a simple, hand the ball off to Cade. He's bringing it up, brings it up to the right wing. Nothing special is happening here. The speed of the play is not fast at all. And he just takes McHale off the dribble from the right wing all the way to the paint. Cat comes over to help, can't do anything. It's like, that's not the grit and the hustle that I expect from New York and a Thibs team. And that's a little too easy of offense versus a real contender in the East, in my opinion. And then, again, I want to bring up McHale because then at 2:30, so this was at like 3 minutes something. Then at 2 minutes something, 2 minutes 30, McHale looks absolutely lost when they're defending Cade. So Cade gets switched on to OG. Cade scores on OG with a tough floater sort of fading away.
It was difficult.
So why I'm bringing this stuff up, those 2 plays, one, impressive by Cade to score on 2 very good defenders, right? I think everyone would say McHale's an above-average defender.
He's a solid defender.
Solid, and OG is just straight up a great defender, and he manages to score on both. But I don't love the shot selection on the OG one, right? McHale, he straight up beat, like that. For Cade, I would love to see a little less of those super difficult shots because those aren't going to convert at a high clip. And the other reason I'm bringing them up is I'm not liking what I've been seeing from Mikal Bridges these last 10 games or so. I thought he made he started out rough with his shot. I thought he started to make a resurgence, got into a rhythm. Now he looks off rhythm again, both on defense and his shooting. You know the 0 of 9 night.
Yeah, but he played well this game. He had a good shooting night.
He was good offensively, but I didn't like his defense. And I feel like he's struggling with the minutes. I feel like he's struggling because
he's an Iron Man. He's leading the league in minutes played.
I know he's an Iron Man, but I just think It's just a different role that he's playing now. Like he was Iron Man on Phoenix.
But
off the bench.
he was an Iron Man on Phoenix. He's an Iron Man in Brooklyn.
But yeah, in Brooklyn, but like Brooklyn wasn't a real good team.
But he was the first option.
But so that means he wasn't doing all the little hustle things. That's what
true.
I'm saying.
That's
like
true.
he is used to putting up a lot of shots, but the little hustle thing, I feel he needs to do more of now because you got Brunson and Cat to take the majority of the shots. So I'm just a little, I didn't like what I saw from Mikal. I liked some of what I saw from Cade, but I didn't like that shot he took on OG, even though he made it. And then I want to shout out Ozar Thompson. Just insane. He guarded Cat right before that play. So when Cade scored on OG, right before when New York had the ball, Cat's on the wing, and Ozar is just guarding him. Like, it just doesn't – he can guard 1 through 5. And then he got that steal 1 minute 48 seconds where he's standing between Brunson and Cat, and it doesn't even look like he's defending either one of them particularly. And he just somehow reaches that ball. Like, that was a huge – like, we were talking about the Knicks turnovers. This is a forced turnover in a pivotal one-possession game with about 2 minutes to go. So I really want to shout him out because as a rookie, he's already doing amazing things. I know some people have been saying he's not as good as his brother. Actually, it's a sophomore. People have been saying he's not as good as his brother. I agree he's not as good right now, but that's mostly on the offensive end. I still like a lot of what he brings on defense. And I just want to close this out with a little bit of talk of why I still don't with some of the issues I see in Detroit. Malik Beasley, you didn't mention him for the defensive end. You had said that Cade was probably their worst defender. Yeah. I think Malik Beasley is probably their worst defender. At a minute 29, they have that defensive breakdown where Ozar Thompson is guarding Brunson. Malik Beasley is. And then the screen comes in, and Ozar fights over the screen to get onto Brunson. Malik stays with Brunson, realizes last second that you were talking about that motion offense, that Mikal is going out to that left wing to shoot a 3, and he's just completely late to it, gives up a huge 3, pretty much brings the game back to dead even. So players like that have lapses on this team, and those are the kind of weaknesses that they have, because I don't think they wanted Malik guarding Brunson and Ozar on Mikal. And then also I just said a last thing I want to bring up from the film at about 1:09. So I'm bringing up a lot of things from the end of the game because this was a really close game at the end. I'm surprised the Pistons won because usually the veteran teams are the ones who win these. But at 1:09, Cade does his dumb long midi off a spin move. I think he's being guarded by OG or Mikal. And I just don't understand that. So basically what I'm taking away from this game is while Detroit did win, I didn't like the shot selection from Cade at multiple times at the end of the game. And I didn't like some of the defensive breakdowns, but I thought the offense from Malik Beasley and a couple other guys was looking good. But yeah, Detroit's not contenders. They're not better than New York. I just think Ozar Thompson deserves some shout-outs for this specific game. I think Tobias Harris still being underrated, and Cade Cunningham is legitimately improving. And I have pretty decent hopes for Detroit Pistons next year. I think they might add another player, especially if they can get rid of Jaden Ivey somehow. And then they could do something in the East. But just props for winning this game because this is not an easy game to win.
I agree that was it was a good game to watch. I think my two biggest points I'm gonna have to disagree with you on is first the Tobias Harris impact. I think Tobias Harris, he's helpful. He's improved the team with his veteran presence, the leadership. Even though, like I said, I agree that the box score does not reflect everything he does for this team, but definitely Cade is the number one reason for this resurgence. I'll give it to Tobias Harris, maybe second or third most important beside maybe Ozar and his amazing defense. And then for Mikal Bridges, I agree that I see the defensive breakdown in the fourth quarter, but for me, that's just a singular moment. Or no, not in the fourth quarter, but Cade Cunningham, he just blows by him. I think that's a singular moment. I think a lot of the best players, especially the ones with the most scrutiny on them, you could find moments like that. So for me, I'm not worried about this because I've always thought he's a solid defender, nothing great, nowhere near Anunoby's level. So this is a little bit on par for the course almost, where sometimes you have good possessions, sometimes you won't have such good possession. That's how you get to above average. You're not always being a defensive stud and getting scored on as a rarity. And then I just really like Mikal Bridges scoring. This game they lost, but I love how volatile he is. Volatile as in yesterday he was shooting quite well. They kept feeding him the ball and he was putting points up on the board. And other games we'd have a more quiet night. He doesn't demand the ball. He still plays his role. He still offers spacing. He does all those things. So the situation where, even though they lost this game, that kind of scoring night from Bridges is exactly the difference between a win or a loss, especially in a playoff game. I think this time they lost, but they easily could have been a win. And the fact that he was shooting so well is what got them close in the first place. I think you're being a little too harsh on Mikal Bridges. I think that defensive breakdown, it is what it is, but I just don't think you should blow it out of proportions. And instead, I want to focus on the good aspects of him, his scoring. He's still a solid defender, no matter if he gets broken down, stuff like that. And next for the Pistons, I just want to talk about how I think, Malik. What do you say?
Malik Beasley.
Yeah, Malik Beasley. That's what I thought.
You're thinking of the Kings.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Kings exactly. So Malik Beasley. I don't think he's the greatest defender, but what I like about him and Cade is compared to the Lakers and their guards, they're still better defenders. I know I seem like a Lakers hater, but when we talk about the game, I was watching the film, I was like, wow. There's levels of how much of a cone you can be on defense, and I think the Lakers found the bottom. I think they're on the ground floor.
Let me ask you something about your Knicks, okay? You lost to the Pistons. You don't like how I'm going in on Mikal. He had 2 moments. You said 1, but he had 2, but still moments. Who's to blame? How do you justify losing? So you're just going to lose to any surging 8th seed team.
That's what I said at the beginning of this. I think it's a team loss because the amount of turnovers is unacceptable. And just the in general shock and awe on their faces to see the Detroit Pistons have a good defense, that's unacceptable. To me.
Isn't that on the coaches then?
It's a team thing.
It's everyone.
It's everyone. I don't just put blame on coaches. I think coaches are important, but at the end of the day, it's the team's job to be prepared for whatever team they play. And I felt that they were not prepared for the Pistons. Like you
think they took them lightly? Like when they looked at them on the schedule?
Exactly. It was one of those things which I really don't expect from a Tom Thibodeau team, a Jalen Brunson-led team, but it happens. And I don't think it's going to be happening again after a loss like this because honestly, they should be embarrassed. You're losing to the Detroit Pistons. But 2024, they were Detroit Pistons, okay? I said it. I was saying, okay? I admit it, okay? And they're better now, no doubt. We just laid them all out. My brother, he did a great job explaining to you why they're better. They're still not better than the Knicks, though.
Yeah.
They're still not. They're not contenders. They didn't give up 5 draft picks, to build a great team.
For Mikal Bridges, by the way.
Definitely, Bridges was worth his weight in gold in that game, okay? He had those breakdowns, but he was putting points up, okay? And that's why, for me, ultimately, it's a team thing. And I don't think – and another thing I almost forgot to mention, they come off a back-to-back. I know they blew out the Bucks. They should be rested. Yeah. But a back-to-back is a back-to-back. And you could definitely see some of that fatigue on them where we're hitting the midpoint of the season where games like these can happen where a better team can be tired, feeling a little lazy. We know those mid-years. The middle of the year, we could agree, the hardest part of the year. Yeah. Maintain motivation, maintain energy. And so the Knicks showed that they failed yesterday at maintaining the energy, maintaining the intensity. But I don't think they'll do it again. It's just not in Tom Thibodeau's nature. It's not in Jalen Brunson's nature. It's in general the Knicks roster. They're not a team to take a loss like this lightly.
And I'll just say one last thing before we wrap up this segment. When I was looking at some of the Twitter stuff, some of the Reddit stuff, some of the New York Knicks fans were lamenting how useless their bench was, right? Like Campaign had some points. He was the spark off the bench, but Precious Achua, any other guys, right? That is what this Knicks roster is about. The whole point of this Knicks roster is you do not have a bench to bail you out. When Mikal Bridges is getting tired, like you're saying, okay, he's doing well on 3. What a coach should do is rest him a couple minutes, get him his win back so then he can get back out there and not be a cone. You don't have a guy you can put in for Mikal Bridges.
I'm not going to use that as an excuse.
No, exactly. It's not an excuse, but as a fan, you have to understand that's what you signed up for. When you went for Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, you wanted the stacked starting 5 because it's the only way you can match the Boston Celtics and some of these other just demonic level teams in the NBA. You said because you didn't naturally build this team like Boston and like OKC, you don't have these nice rookies and these sophomore players that you've drafted that can be a decent bench. You don't have that luxury. So that's just what you signed up for. Because, Detroit bench, honestly, like Isaiah Stewart and then Malik Beasley's technically off the bench, they're better than like what New York was offering off the bench. And I think you just have to be okay with that. And in the middle of the year is when it's going to feel the worst because the starters, like you said, they're tired. So even if Thibs plays them that 40 minutes that everyone always
not
like
the same
mocks him
40
for,
they were given the beginning of the season.
Exactly. They're quality, right? Quality, not quantity. So I think you just have to be okay with it. I think you have to be able to take a loss like this on the chin. I thought Detroit played well. I would give them more credit than I would blame New York. But I personally thought McHale had some breakdowns. You more on the team loss side of it.
Thing. As a general, I'm seeing every player making mistakes, making turnovers they normally don't do.
For sure.
Like the big Bodega, 6 turnovers. Like that's unacceptable.
That is unacceptable.
But I think he will do better next game. That's why I'm not really worried because I watched the tape. Yeah. Next time Detroit come to town, they go to Detroit. We're gonna have another great game on our hands.
Yeah. But no, I think they'll do it. We'll go to break real quick, and then we'll be back with our next segment.
Alrighty, welcome back to another segment of the 50-50 show. I'm Omair. This is my brother Omar. Next, we're going to be talking about the Houston Rockets taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. The Houston Rockets win a very gritty game, 120-118. The Rockets are now 3-0 versus Memphis. Jalen Green with a big game, 42 points on a great shooting night. Grizzlies, John Morant being the leading scorer. Omar, what do you think about last night's game? What are your thoughts?
Okay. Here's what I need to do. First of all, the Rockets are 3-0 in the series. Mm-hmm. I definitely think there is a bit of a Dillon Brooks effect.
It's personal.
There's two main things I want to talk about. Okay, so let's just cover Houston first. That's the easy part for me. Jalen Green, this is not him. I do not rate Jalen Green. I'm on record saying that. He can't shoot the three. I think this game he went 3 or 4 or 4 or
5 of 6, I think.
5 of 6, so I knew he'd only missed one, but that's not sustainable. So not only is those points not acceptable, like when you get that hot, defenses start to treat you a little differently. That's not him normally from 3. So on the Houston end, I feel like they just got hot. Here's how I'm going to talk about it from the Memphis end. I was reading some of the comments on Twitter, Reddit, and just all social media. People rightfully have been talking about Ja Morant's 7 turnovers, but people look at the plus minuses of the box score where Ja, I believe, was plus 11. Ja and Edey were the only 2 starters with plus 11. And then Desmond Bane was minus 11. So I saw some comments that tried to imply Bane had like defensive breakdowns and Ja Morant, despite his turnovers, was just doing so much and had so much gravity that the team was still good with him. Absolute cap. I wanted to talk about some of that, okay? First, let's talk about Morant, okay? So he has 7 turnovers. And if you look at 2 minutes and 33 seconds, pretty late in the game, Dillon Brooks 100% reads him. Ja Morant goes for like this midi step back. You think he's going to shoot it. He tries to pass it. Dillon knew. And he gets that steal, and that's in a critical moment. So that's the 2-point win. That's Dillon Brooks effect right there.
Dillon Brooks effect. Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, for real. And so then I started watching for when Bane was playing. And one thing that happened was Santi Aldama was popping off pretty hard this game. He had a couple of tough shots, threes, middies. He had some great passes, all in the second quarter, and Memphis went on a bit of a run. Desmond Bane was not on the floor for that run. He was at the scorer's table. And Ja Morant and Edey were. So you might think if you hadn't watched the game, or maybe you only skimmed the highlights, that Ja Morant and Edey are like this 2-man game, and that, no, none of that. It was just Santi Aldama going crazy. Morant and Edey happened to be on the floor, and Bane wasn't. Because it's not like Bane would be stopping those actions. He's just a 3-point shooter. He would just be giving more threat to the Memphis offense with Aldama doing those kind of passes. So a lot of that plus-minus discrepancy was there. Because I literally watched the fourth quarter, like the entire fourth quarter all over again. The final 5 minutes of the game, Bane did not do a single thing wrong. Like I'm watching every possession. Morant had 2 key turnovers to the point where Desmond Bane had to take over for a point guard with about a minute to go. He runs the offense. The dude who sets the screens, I think it was maybe Jalen Wells or Brandon Clark, he messes up the screen. A shooting guard has to take over for point guard. Then the guy setting the screen messes up the screen. Bane still makes it work, hits a great pass, then a hockey pass, and someone ends up hitting the 3 on the left wing. And that was huge because I think they were down 1 at that point. So I just wanted to talk about Desmond Bane there because I'm on record. I've been talking about how Bane is really underrated. He's really good. I would not trade him for Jimmy Butler. And I think Bane is pretty much equal to Ja Morant. And they're both good players, but neither are like super elite.
Excuse me?
And and I'll listen, you want to defend Ja Morant? Can't shoot the 3. He's trying to develop it, but he still can't. In this game, he wasn't hot like he's been, in the end of 2024. 7 turnovers, really dumb passes. And even on some passes that weren't turnovers, you'll see him, he keeps jumping into the air for like this midi thing, and then he tries to pass out of it, and he's just getting mangled. Like Houston was 100% ready for all of it. He even got some passes and some assists off that could have easily been turnovers. So 7 turnovers, like he could have been at 10, man. He could have been at 10 turnovers. So for me, like I guess I want to get this on the record. Ja Morant is not on Shea's level. He's not on Luka's level. He's not on Giannis's level.
People think that.
People talk about how Ja Morant is like a really good talent and like Memphis are a contender because of him, right? I think Ja Morant is closer to Ant than he is to Shea. But the issue is Ja is, I think, 2 years older, maybe even more, with the whole gun suspension. We haven't seen him play like 7 years, but he's been, he's older than someone like Ant. And yeah, that's what I wanted to get out for this game is Jalen Green just got hot. Obviously loved Eamon Thompson. Come on. Do I even have to say anything? 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 blocks.
Nope.
The only reason he's not a one-man fast break like you were talking about is he just can't dribble the ball easily when he's doing it. But I looked at the plus-minus because, I'm a stats guy. I like to believe in stats. I'm not delusional. The only reason he's minus is because he's on the floor when the team's not getting lucky. And then when he's off the floor, John Morant hits like a logo 3. And Santi Aldama hits 2 tough shots and gets a great pass. And it's like John Morant did nothing to assist those, and he just got lucky on the 3. And Bane wouldn't have hurt them. So if he was there, so I think we need to adjust for that. And I think Bane did nothing wrong. Jaren Jackson Jr., mediocre. John Morant, you can't have 7 turnovers. That's not acceptable.
Can I go?
Yeah, you can go and talk about Dylan Brooks, my GOAT.
I will be talking about the Rockets because that's my team, as you know. First off, on the Grizzlies, I need to support John Morant. One thing I think you're missing is that you have to remember Desmond Bane the third option. It goes John Morant, Triple J, Desmond Bane. That's the Grizzlies' offense.
How many points did Jaren Jackson Jr. have today?
He had a bad
17.
No, he had a bad night. He didn't do that well. But you have to remember when the hierarchy is that way, the third option has an easier time looking good because he's getting the least defensive attention. Okay, he's getting the least scrutiny from the media, and then definitely less scrutiny from the defense. And when the defense is looking at you less, you do better. You can score better. What did we see with Jordan Poole, right? Jordan Poole is the number one example of this. He's the second option for the Warriors, playing with Draymond Green. He looks great. He's the second splash brother. Amazing. Goes to the Washington Wizards, and you're like, oh, wow, this guy is sharp as a butter knife. Okay? So a similar thing happens with teams like the Grizzlies, where I agree, John Morant's not on the level of the top. He's not a top 5 NBA player like SGA, like Giannis is, like Luka is. But he's still quite good. And he'll always look worse because he's the first option, Desmond Bane being the third option. Can I agree? Bane is good. I'm not a Bane hater because he's very consistent. He hits threes. He plays decent defense. He can drive to the rim. But he's capped. His level is capped and always will be. And that's why he's the third option. People like Triple J, John Morant, they have higher levels they can reach. No, John Morant is lit. Before the Ja Wick incident, he was averaging almost 28 points a game on like 9 assists.
So you're talking about 2 years ago, before he got a gun charge from the NBA.
Yeah, but he showed his potential. I have no reason to believe he can't get back to the level because he's already showing flashes of it. Now he has 7 turnovers, but he has to refine his game. It's weird. I'm talking about he has to refine his game, him being a 7-year player. I understand.
Exactly.
I understand where you're coming from. But at the end of the day, I still think he can get to that level because there is an adjustment period when you're out of the league for so long. And you had that season-ending shoulder injury. He's adjusting from a season-ending injury and some real big personal drama. Coming back from that, I think he's doing a great job. I love the whole thing. He's dunking less. He's doing more layouts, protecting his knees. He's showing that maturity. So for me, I'm seeing change. It's 7 years in the game, in the NBA, but he's still showing maturity, improvement on the mental side. So why can't his offensive game go back to what it once was? Okay, he can clean up those passes, clean up his scoring game. It definitely can happen. So I think he's being a little harsh on John Morant. I see the idea of giving credit to Desmond Bane, but at the end of the day, third options can always look good if they're good players, and Bane is a good player. So it's
okay. Then who's to blame for this loss? Why are the Memphis Grizzlies 0-3 in what should be a pretty close matchup?
I mean, yeah, second and third seed. It is definitely a close matchup. The losses have been close. You can't get that twisted. Okay. Why are we talking about the Houston Rockets? You want to blame the Memphis Grizzlies. Let me tell you why the Houston Rockets are so good. Let me talk about them. Thank you for setting me up. So for the Rockets, they lack shooting. They're not the greatest three-point shooting team in the league. And so it's really nice to see them doing so well in the modern NBA without a great three ball. And so then how do they do it? Because they got grit. They're a gritty team that's physical, that can grind back from a deficit or keep up with any other team and grind out a win. For this game, a lot of credit has to go to Jalen Green. I know you don't rate him, but I do. I think his driving game, his athleticism is absolutely absurd. We know this. But then someone like Shaedon Sharpe also has absurd athleticism. What separates the two? I'll tell you what. First of all, Green's ball handling and in-game awareness has really improved. When I was watching the game, he's running pick and roll with Sengun. He sees Edey. He didn't try to, go through him or jump over him. He just goes around him. He blows by him, leveraging that speed as opposed to trying to jump over everyone. There's that increased poise, easier buckets. right? Another thing, I wouldn't see him shoot too many middies. I think his worst part of his game is his mid-ranger. I much prefer, I would be better off if I never saw Jalen Green shoot another midi, and it'd be better for him too. And I saw that he was shooting more threes, and he hit them this game, and it really shows how much of an inside threat he is when he's 5 or 6 from 3. He's hot, he's dropping 40. Because in his driving game, it's even more unlocked because now they're coming up on him. Now you're getting blown by. Almost 99% of defenders will get blown by Jalen Green if his 3 is falling.
Including Jaren Jackson Jr., who came up too high on a Sengun screen late fourth quarter, gave up an easy bucket to Jalen Green.
I agree. Yeah.
Your DPOY, your second option.
If you want to blame some of the loss, you can blame Triple J. I think he's pretty good. Okay, he is a second option, but at the end of the day, yeah, he didn't score that many points, and he got cooked on defense. It is what it is. Okay. So I'm glad we agree. Triple J to blame, not John Morant.
John Morant second. Yeah. I can give you second.
Okay. And then next is the free throw. Jalen Green had 11 free throws. He was 11 of 11. And, when you look at free throw numbers, you have to be careful. Like, is this guy a free throw merchant or is he just physical? Jalen Green is definitely the latter. He is a physical player. He gets to the rim, and that's how he gets a lot of his free throws. Especially, he's just hard to stop. So defenses end up having to foul him if they have any chance of stopping him. The next, of course, the Rockets defense. You have this Jalen Green, this offensive player who keeps improving, right? His improvement has been key for them to be the second seed. But the defense is so good. You already talk about Amen Thompson. Everyone knows that. Everyone should be singing his praises, especially if you're an H-Town fan. Don't let Amen Thompson go unnoticed with your friends. Come on, y'all, please.
Can I just bring something up really quick? I saw this clip. This guy was talking about how the Houston Rockets should move on from Amen Thompson now while his value is at its highest. And that, I can't even, finish the point because of how dumb it sounds. But there are some people out there who legitimately think this is like a flash in the pan and this is not sustainable. Can you talk? What do you think? Because I think he's the real deal.
These people are trying to ruin my morning, but I won't let them. Okay, no, he is not a flash in the pan. You look at this man play basketball, he can't dribble. Okay, the ball on a fast break, he's liable to knock it off his foot at any given time. So like, oh man, you're a hater. No, that's the thing. His plus minus is so good. His impact to the team is so good. While looking like he can't play basketball, it's amazing. Because one, it's the athleticism, okay? And he doesn't use the athleticism in a flashy way that's going to get him injured, a la D Rose, okay? Mm. It's the quickness. It's that lateral quickness. Like I talked about last segment, he will literally make a defensive mistake because he's a second-year player, but it doesn't matter because he's so athletic he can recover it. LeBron James said him and his twin are different from him physically. He said they're on another level. We have LeBron James, freak of nature, one of the GOAT, or not the GOAT, one of the best players of all time, okay? No. Almost caught me lacking there. And then he's saying the Thompson twins are a level above him. That's absurd. To think that's a flash in the pan, you're crazy. Okay, that makes no sense. His defense is superb. And it's not just, I get the example where he had a defensive breakdown. He also has good defensive instincts. Good hands up. He's good discipline. He's not often getting into foul trouble.
Strong.
Yeah, he's strong. Flash in the pan is super disrespectful. Whoever you are, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm just glad he didn't say that because I don't know if my heart could take it, knowing we share genetics. So, yeah, Amen Thompson, not flash in the pan. I can't believe that's a hot take or something I have to argue. If you disagree, come in the comments. Let's talk. Okay? Next, Sengun had 3 steals when you were watching. He was definitely, I think when he was guarding Edie, that's where he definitely got a lot of his steals. Edie's still a very raw, undeveloped player. You could tell tonight or yesterday night. And then, Dylan Brooks, the Dylan Brooks effect, call it whatever you want. But D. Brooks, he had 4 steals.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. One was on John Morant in that clutch moment.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
So I definitely think that Memphis, they were dirty. They were sloppy for scapegoating Dylan Brooks for that playoff implosion, I think, 2 years ago.
Finally, you agree.
No, I never disagreed on that. Dylan Brooks, he's an annoying guy, definitely. But you're happy when he's on your team. It's one of those guys, Draymond Green type. Yep.
CP3
God.
type.
I don't like you. If I see you in the street, we're not friends. Oh, you're on my team? Oh, I love you, bro. That guy gets you wins, as we saw today.
Yep. So, if you want to talk about how it's Houston's good that won the game, not Memphis bad that lost the game, what do you think about Cam Whitmore? Because there's been some talk and some controversy around him because he had a game versus the Wizards where he was possibly annoyed that he didn't play enough. I think it's been sort of debunked, but he's off the bench. He's a guy who was the man in college. What did you think? Because he went 6 to 7. He was really quite effective. Do you see him? Because Jabari Smith Jr. is out. So they've been trying Aaron Holiday. Whitmore's been getting more minutes. Do you like that? Do you think they need to incorporate him more? Because he is a bit of a defensive liability. So I guess I'm asking is, do you want him more in the lineup for his offensive capabilities, or do you not love him because he presents another defensive hole? And with Jalen Green already being one, maybe you can't afford more of those. Where do you come down on that?
So on Cam Whitmore, if he was truly getting annoyed about not getting the ball, he needs to chill out. He seems to me very much a six-man type of player. Because
spark off the bench.
Exactly. It's very similar if you look at the San Sacramento Kings, Malik Monk coming off the bench. When he starts, he looks good. But De'Aaron Fox is just a level above him, okay? And that's not controversial. And I'm not hating on Monk. It's just true. You watch. Okay, Malik Monk really good. Fox even better.
Malik Monk is better.
And that's why when they were doing well 2 years ago, they were second seed. Malik Monk coming off the bench, being really effective. Similar thing with the Houston Rockets. Jalen Green is your guy. He's your offensive guy. He's your defensive cone you got to play around. Put Cam Whitmore in the starting lineup as well, and I got two of those to worry about. Exactly. And as we see once again with the Lakers, I know I'm not a hater, but as you see, when both your backcourt is bad at defense, you become really vulnerable. You start making Stephon Castle and Devin Vassell look really good, but we'll get to it. No worries.
So I got Whitmore or Jalen Green for the future of the Houston Rockets. Who are you riding with? In that spot. Obviously Sengun is like the better player.
Jalen Green. It's Jalen Green.
You riding with Jalen Green, his athleticism.
Yes.
You're not worried about his lack of consistent three-point shooting?
I think he'll improve.
You think he'll improve? I don't think he will.
Huh?
Only
time will tell.
I'm going to just say that right there. But I think that's good enough for the segment, honestly. It was a good, fun game. Yeah. But it sounds like you just thought Houston played pretty well.
Yep.
I think Memphis had that game in the bag. They were up like 8 as we approached the halftime. And you just can't be throwing those games away, man. I was disappointed because I've been liking the Memphis Grizzlies.
Triple J's got to do
better.
Triple J,
you can't have 7 turnovers, bro. Like, I don't even think Morant had 7 assists. It was a decimal. You know how you be bringing up decimal assist to turnover ratio. It was a decimal, and it wasn't a pretty one. But we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be talking about the Lakers versus Spurs. My Lakers got blown out. I have conspiracy theories. Let's follow up on that. Alrighty, welcome back to the next segment of the 50-50 show. This is Omar, this is Omair. Now we're going to talk about the long-awaited, long-feared by me segment. The Spurs versus Lakers. The Lakers, their first home game after the Palisade fires. They dedicated this game to the first responders, and they ended up losing 102 to 126. I find that blasphemous and a bit disrespectful
to those responders.
You owed those boys a win.
And girls, boys and girls.
Boys and girls, yep. But seriously, losing at home, getting blown out by the Spurs, just really bad all around. I mean, 18 turnovers compared to 10. Pretty much every Spurs player went off. Vassell, Castle, Wemby, CP3. But yeah, I mean, Omair, talk to us. What did you think about this game? What did you like from the Spurs? What did you not like with the Lakers? Who do you blame? Who do you give credit to? Tell us.
I'll do all that. First of all, let's get some things out of the way. Number one, Victor Wembanyama is a top 10 player in the NBA.
Not with this cap again, man.
Let that sit. 2, the San Antonio Spurs will be making the playoffs. Let's get into it. First of all, my boy Wemby, 22 points, 10 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and only 1 turnover, and that's big. Okay, because what do we know about these tall guys coming into the league who can dribble the ball? They keep getting stripped. They get the passes picked off. Wemby be like, no. I'm playing AD. He's a good defender. I'm not letting that happen. Okay? That's that killer instinct. That's my boy. Great performance from Wemby, of course. And we also had great games with Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, CP3 being the floor general as always. That's how it was. Lakers, AD had a good game, right? I'll have to give that to him. 30 piece.
13 of 18.
Yep, 13 of 18. Everyone else in the Lakers, let's just say they put a giant smile on my face as I was watching. First and foremost, is I want some of the Spurs development. I'm really loving what they're teaching over there, especially to their younger players. If you watch the game, if you look at the players that were drafted by the Spurs, they have slightly different defensive tendencies than players that brought in from free agency. Example being Harrison Barnes. I didn't see anything I'm about to say. I saw with Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell. There's another guy.
Oh, yeah. Who was it?
Bassie. I'm sorry I forget the name wrong. I was watching him, number 28. He showed great things. What I loved is the active hands. So Stephon Castle, he is guarding Anthony Davis in the paint, okay? This should be chicken tendies for Anthony Davis. It should be embarrassing, a massacre. No. Stephon Castle with the active hands picks off Rui Hachimure's pass. It becomes transition. It's 2 easy points for the Spurs. Same thing with Bassie. Active hand, breaking up a LeBron James lob, mind you, your GOAT. He's breaking it up with his active hand. He also got a really nice block. The defensive effort was superb. I love to see it. Victor Wembanyama, the development, he's still developing. What did we all say? If he keeps getting better, he will be top player in the NBA. Well, he's already top 10, and yesterday proved it. He's got LeBron James on him, okay? We saw LeBron James' terrible defense. He's fell asleep. He's sagging off Wemby. Wemby gets the ball, attacks the closeout. Hey, yo, you can do that on your own time. Please don't do it on the show. Wemby attacks LeBron off baseline. Before the help comes, one-legged midi, fade away like he's Kevin Durant. Wemby's got it like that, okay? That's skill. 7'3", and he's skilled. Next, I'm going to talk about your Lakers and your backcourt. Your defenders, your backcourt, they are a sad sight to watch, especially AR-15. I love him. I love his story, but he is a terrible defender. He is so bad, he made Stephon Castle and Devin Vassell look like all-stars. I'm not kidding. Each had 20 pieces. Each were distributing the ball, looking like stars. Because when was that happening, though? When AR-15 was guarding them, when Max Christie was guarding them, or when Cam Reddish, God bless his soul, he was guarding them. Every one of them, defensive breakdown, getting smoked on the drive, on the three. It doesn't matter however the Spurs wanted to give it to him, they took it. I stand on that.
Pause.
Stephon Castle, he gets Max Christie on him. Back down. He's looking like Kyrie Irving, back down, spin move, easy lay. It's Stephon Castle, for God's sake. He's a rookie. But no, when he's got Max Christie on him, he can be Kyrie. He can do whatever he wants.
You showed up ready to hate today, didn't you?
Nah, it's not hate. This is not hate. This is facts. My eyes were working last time when I was watching the game. That's all there is to it. I had to share what my heart was feeling.
Hate.
No, it's not hate. It's passion. Now, finally, finally, you called me a hater. You didn't let me finish. Okay, that's what happened. You don't let me finish. Bad things happen. Anyways,
Hey, yo.
DFS. Great pickup by the Lakers. I'm just loving what he's doing for the team. I don't care what the box score shows. He plays good D. He shoots threes. That's exactly what a LeBron James-led team needs.
At least you saw that part.
Exactly. I'm watching the game. He's guarding Wemby. I'm like the backcourt. He's not timid. He presses up on Wemby, gets Wemby to pass, and he's got to hit one of his role players. That's how it went. So I like that defense from him. And just finally, the Spurs, they'll be making the playoffs off the strength of Wemby. Love CP3's game. Floor general. Great defender still at age. God knows how old. The role players, if they meet up with a team like the Lakers, Spurs, it's literally, I don't have to watch. It's 4-0. It's easy. They're cooking the Lakers.
4-0 is disrespectful.
Because AR-15 got Stephon Castle and Denver State looking like stars. That's all there is to it.
Okay. After all of that, bro. Listen, I can't even disagree with a lot of that because that's the thing you got to realize. I'm always right. I'm a Lakers fan because obviously I'm a LeBron stan, but also I'm a big fan of Kobe, his mentality, everything he brought to the game. But it's all about the players, right? I'm not gonna be out here riding for this organization when I don't believe in what they've done. Some things I want to cover before I go into individual players. Obviously, it was a bit of a variance night. It was a bit of a bad night. We shot 44% from the field.
That's when they got blown out.
32% from three, whereas the Spurs shot 53% from the field and 37% from three. I think, the 24-point spread, a bit of that is variance. You always have to know that. But we had 18 turnovers when the Spurs had 10. That's just not acceptable. And a lot of that was on LeBron. I was really disappointed in that. But here's the thing with LeBron. He's done this, right? I'm not saying anything new. In the regular season, he's loose with the ball. He averages like 3.5, 4 turnovers. He puts up dumb threes sometimes. He heat checks. And he doesn't try on defense. We saw all three except the heat checking happen. So we got bad defense and we got a bunch of turnovers. And having them both happen in the same game, that's going to be tough to recover from. I'm not trying to absolve him of blame. It's just because he's such a, even if you don't have him as the GOAT, you have him number 2, number 3, you have him somewhere in there. In the playoffs, he's a different beast. Like when I say Max Christie or Cam Reddish are bad, they're not going to level up in the playoffs. Like, are you guys delusional? There's no reason for them to level up. But LeBron has a reason to level up. He's just old. We know he's resting his body. A la Mike Conley. All the older guys. They have to be careful.
CP3, though. He laying it out there every night.
So what CP3 does, it's interesting. He just doesn't shoot. His logic is, I can only do one or the other. LeBron, that's one of the things I want LeBron to do is play less offense, let AR and AD run more of the offense, and then dedicate yourself more to defense. Because I legitimately think, you were talking about AR, I have AR as a good point guard in this league. I have him as better than D'Lo. I have him better than Darren Fox. I have him better than Peyton Pritchard. I have him better than Tyler Hero, the other white boy. He's a good guard, but he is a cone. I agree with you. Not Trae Young level, but he's a cone. He is just really amazing on offense. And it's not the prettiest offense, but his whole, his foul
merchant. Free throw.
Well, that's really important, right? For an efficient offense, your guard needs to be able to get free throws.
Not surprising coming from a James Harden fan.
He's a really good three-point shooter, and he's a good passer. You got to admit that. He's no Jokic, but he can get you 7, 8 assists. I mean, his lines for assists are 6.5, 7.5, with LeBron doing a lot. If LeBron took a step back, I legitimately think Austin Reeves might get 8.5 assists. So he's not getting enough offensive work because LeBron wants enough. And then LeBron and AR are both cones on defense. That's really hard to recover from. AD had 31 points on 13 of 18 shooting. He had 13 rebounds. What more do you want from him? I don't care what the plus minus says. It says he was like minus 12. Yeah, because he was on the floor with all these other cones. Like, he can't do anything.
He didn't want to call them bums, even though it's true.
Stephon, just from the Spurs side, by the way, because I do like the Spurs. We are from Texas. I love Stephon Castle's development. I've told you that when we were looking at all the rookies like Sarr and them, Rissa Share in Atlanta, I thought Stephon Castle was the best rookie so far. So I really like.
Well, not Jalen Wells.
No, Jalen Wells is the best. Yeah, okay. Jalen Wells is the best.
I don't want you to walk back.
Yeah. Well, I had mentioned other players. Yeah, so for me, it's Jalen Wells, Zach Edey, Stephon Castle, roughly. I might be and maybe
Zach Edey, really the guy who he was getting eaten alive by Alperen Sengun.
The same guy who dominated Draymond? Yeah. and Donovan Clingan, too, I should say. So, but remember, these are all like good players. If I'm saying Stephon Castle's 4th out of a whole class, that's pretty good. So I really like what the Spurs are doing, and I like the actual selection. Shout out to CP3. 13 points, 10 assists, 3 steals, and only 1 turnover. Like, everybody be on Cade Cunningham's nuts. 13 assists, 10 assists, 1 turnover. Cade Cunningham might never have that ratio in his life. Like, turnovers are so big for guards, and when you're making all these passes, it's amazing that you can make 10 assist level passes and only turn it over once. John Morant had 7 turnovers and like 4 assists. Think about that. He had 7 times the amount of turnovers. I just think people aren't giving CP3 enough credit, because I'll say something like, I think CP3 is the second best player on this team, and I think CP3 is better than pretty much most guards in the league. And people will look at me funny because he's old and he doesn't shoot a lot, right? But if I said that, and it's like, look at what he's actually doing on the floor. He doesn't turn it over. He gets his team points. He's still playing good defense. I'm describing a good starter on any NBA team. So I want to shout out.
He's underrated, but he's not better than most guards. Let's
he's definitely better than De'Aaron Fox. I can tell you that.
That ain't no way.
And then Harrison Barnes on the Spurs. That's the guy I've talked about a lot with the Spurs too. Underrated. I saw no one really talking about him on Reddit or Twitter or anywhere else. He had 17 points and 5-8 shooting. Good plus minus. Good rebounds. Good assists. Low turnovers. Like, he did nothing wrong. This team, it's Wemby, CP3, big gap. Then I think Harrison Barnes is you were talking about making the playoffs. That's the kind of starter you need to make the playoffs. But Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, these are not playoff level starters.
Well, they're not playoff tested even.
Yeah, they're not even tested, but they're not even like good enough in the regular season. Castle's developing, so it's cool. No problem with that. You need to get off Vassell and then Sochan coming off the bench. If you want to even make the playoffs or even have a chance of winning the first round, those are the players that we need to figure something out for. I don't think they're going to do anything this year, but for next year, that's what I'm looking at. So you said they'd make the playoffs. I don't even think I agree. I'd have to really look at the West.
When do you ever?
The Warriors, the Kings.
Trash. Oh, not the Kings. The Warriors. The Warriors.
The Spurs, I think they might be better than the Lakers. The issue is
seventh in the West right now. They went 4th to 7th.
But here's the thing: Lakers were overperforming. That's why Lakers we can't win, because when we're 4th, Charles Barkley, who hasn't played the game in forever and doesn't have any real insight on the game. He played, but he doesn't. Great players, they don't often have the best insight. They were insulting our coach when we were overperforming expectations. This is a 7th place roster before you get Dorian Finney-Smith. They're 8th best roster. So to insult even when we overperform, our coaches are insulted. Now we're dropping back to what our talent level actually deserves. And now we're just going to get called chokers and we're going to get made fun of, blah, blah, blah. It's just the reality of the roster. LeBron, everyone sees the name LeBron James. LeBron James in the regular season, give me CP3 over him. Give me Wemby over him.
CP3 over LeBron James?
Yeah. Give me, I'm trying to think. Obviously, give me Drew Holiday over him. And all the top, I'm naming players who you wouldn't even think. Obviously, Tatum, Shea, in the regular season are better. Okay, I love LeBron, but you can't look at him in the playoffs and then look at him in the regular season and think those are really comparable players. So our roster's just not very good. The only thing, and then you mentioned some of this, Max Christie, terrible. I've been talking about this. And Cam Reddish, terrible. I know Cam Reddish only played 15 minutes, but he was 1 of 7 in those 15 minutes. Just made one more bucket than I would have in that entire time. Not good at defense either. Only thing that's confusing me about this Lakers team, and the only thing I'm actually mad about besides the LeBron failure and me having to watch Max Christie, is what is happening when Dorian Finney-Smith. I need more Dorian Finney-Smith minutes. I don't care if you have to run a 4-center lineup. I can only assume it's a fit thing, right? That's why it's either that or it's integrating him slowly. I don't care how clunky it gets. The quality of player on the court is too low when you put Max Christie or Cam Reddish instead of Dorian Finney-Smith. So I need my starters to be AR, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron, AD, and then Rui being our worst player. If Rui is your worst player, you're okay. You're okay. That's like the Pacers. When Max Christie is your worst player, now you're getting to Jaden Ivey on the Detroit Pistons level. Now you're getting to Terry Rozier on the Do you see any similarities between these teams? They were losing with these bums on the floor. You gotta addition by subtraction it. So I'm really not happy with that. But overall, this loss, AR went 4 of 13. He just couldn't shoot, had a bunch of turnovers. LeBron, bunch of turnovers, was hitting his shots, but 7 turnovers. It's going to be hard to overcome that. Lazy defense. The only good player on the Lakers was AD, but then Wemby was doing well. AD wasn't really shutting him down.
Not at all.
Which we know AD is I don't view AD as the kind of big man to shut down another big man. That's why he also can't shut down Jokic. I view AD as an anchor versus cutters and guards. And when you're playing against the Memphis Grizzlies and you need to shut down John Morant, Austin Reeves can just be a cone. Let John Morant go
Funnel
in,
him, yeah.
but then he'll beat him. I think if Lakers had to play Houston Rockets, for example, I would like AD's chances versus Jalen Green, how you were talking about. He's difficult to stop. I agree, but AD can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a big man and you attack AD, he's not going to get exposed, but I just don't think he's going to be anything elite. So, the question being, what do I think of this loss? What happened? I just think everyone on the Lakers except AD didn't show up. And Spurs got to show off.
I'm glad that we agree that the Lakers are not very good. It's good to see.
Well, yeah, no, because people think I don't want to be delusional as a Lakers fan. Like, we need to get
rare. That's rare.
No, because if you're a real Lakers fan, like, that's what you've been complaining about this whole time. Like, we don't have a bro. We traded Alex Caruso away for Russell Westbrook. Do you understand the difference? Like, oh my god, like it's just we just need to make it to the playoffs. And LeBron locks in. But for now, I need more DFS minutes. If we want to be even like a top 5, top 6 team in the West, we need more Dorian Finney-Smith minutes.
Well, one thing I'll talk about with LeBron, and you know what your thoughts are, LeBron stand. In the regular season, there's one thing about LeBron that he doesn't always bring to the playoffs. It's that three-point shooting. This season and last season, he's shooting 40% from three. And as you know, someone as good at driving as LeBron, him shooting three makes him a literal video game glitch. But then in the playoffs, like last year, he didn't bring that three-point shooting. It actually fell. So how do you – because there's more question for you. How do you negotiate that where LeBron locks in for the playoffs, but his three ball doesn't lock in, especially not last season. It actually gets way worse.
Well, I think part of it is just variance. Playoffs, you just play less games. But I do think he plays a little looser in the regular season, and that helps him on his three-point shooting because – he's an older guy, right? He came in the 2000s, so he learned the three. It was not innate to him. It was not natural to him when you look at those early Cavs teams. So I think when he's shooting those little casual left wing threes, we might even do like logo level heat checks. Those help him in the regular season, but in the playoffs, it's just higher intensity. He struggles to convert it at that same level. But I think
he's not clutch.
It's not about clutch. It's like when you lock in. When we say lock in, you're locking in on your instincts, right? Like you're doing what like I'm just gonna follow my instincts and I'm just gonna try my hardest. And it's hard to, and so the three is still not natural to him. When you look at the LeBronto era, he was doing difficult shots. He was clutch, but there weren't a lot of threes.
Well, there were quite a bit. He was shooting very well from the three.
No, he was. But I mean, you think of the most iconic shots, of the fadeaways, or the floaters.
Yes.
And that stuff he had worked with Hakeem years ago in Miami. And I think by the Cleveland era is when it became actually natural. The three, I don't know that it's quite there. And he's just streaky in general. Even in the regular season, he is streaky. But I think last playoffs is just variance. And this year I expect him to be better from three. And if he is not, we're cooked. Because especially if you're not going to give Dorian Finney-Smith minutes, your three-point shooters are AR and LeBron. Rui can't shoot. Max Christie can't shoot. AD can't shoot. Cam Reddish can't shoot. Dalton Knecht can shoot, but he's a huge defensive liability, which I'm a little sad about. I was hoping he could be like the sixth man for us, but he's not getting as many minutes because he can't rebound, can't pass, can't play defense right now. All he can do is shoot, and people have sort of started to figure that out about him. So I don't know what our out is in the playoffs if LeBron isn't going God mode. That's why you have to understand, I'm not going to be delusional about this team because LeBron haters are delusional. People like Skip Bayless will be like, how could you lose? You have AD, you have this. Bro, like, AD is good, but he's not, like, Wemby's already better than him. Jokic is better than him.
Finally admitted, Wemby is better than AD.
Yeah, what do you mean finally? I said that last time, too.
Oh,
AD is not top 10,
yeah,
so Wemby's not top 10.
But Wemby is top 10.
No, he's not top 10.
I'm glad you agree Wemby is top 10.
No, he's not top 10. But yeah, no, you have to keep it real about this team. We still need probably one more piece if we want to do good. But honestly, I just don't even know if we can win. Keeping it a $150, why are we supposed to be able to win?
So
who is AD better than on the Thunder?
iHeart.
iHeart is better than AD.
No, he's better.
iHeart is better than AD.
iHeart. He's better than J-Dub. The only guy he's not better than SGA.
iHeart, SGA, J-Dub, Chet Holmgren.
He's better than Chet too.
Isaiah Joe is probably about equal.
What?
Yeah. So
how are you a Lakers fan? You saying this?
Because
you're saying AD is not better than iHeart.
No, because I love how AD plays, but we gotta have realistic expectations of our team. Why is it always championship or bust? This is the only team that happens to, and that's
because you got LeBron on your team.
LeBron ain't really the best player in the league anymore.
That is true.
That's the thing. He's still good. When we are impressed by him, it's like, wow, you're not a decrepit shell of yourself. Wow, that's already amazing. That's what MJ was on the Wizards. Any player we've ever seen get old, they're always just like trash compared to their peaks. I would say LeBron in the regular season, I don't know, like top 25. In the playoffs, I'd give him top 10. Might even give him 7th, 6th, 5th. I might give him
playoffs?
5th in the playoffs. I don't know because the last time I saw him was that broken foot, right?
Well, no, last year you saw him in the Nuggets where he lost.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, and he didn't look great last playoffs.
Yeah,
so, his three ball was off too. I'm talking about like when I still sort of felt confident in him was the year before, but then he had the broken foot that made his defense worse. If he could combine that offense from 2 years ago with the defense of last year, now maybe we're cooking. But yeah, like people don't want to admit it, but he's just getting older. I'm still a fan. That won't change for me ever. But you got to be realistic because otherwise you're always setting yourself up for failure. Why is it that we have to be a top 4 seed for the regular season to be a success? There's nothing on this roster that should make you think that. Austin Reeves would be a bench player on the OKC Thunder. Cam Reddish would be cut. They would cut him in training camp. Max Christie would be cut in training camp. These guys aren't even good enough for the benches of real contenders, and we have them playing real minutes out here. Think about that. Who's injured? Like, what's the excuse? Jared Vanderbilt. Yeah, you know that guy who can't ever shoot? That's the guy we're waiting on. Like, is that going to be some massive upgrade? So it's just like for me as a Lakers fan, man, and as a LeBron fan, I just want to have realistic expectations. No one goes and insults Detroit for being happy they're 2 wins over 500 because no one expects anything better of them. But it's like, yeah, I know the Lakers have a great franchise, probably the best or the second best in NBA, and LeBron, either the GOAT or he's got to be in your top 3, but it's just not a winning time. We got to keep it realistic. I don't feel like I should have to lie about that because then you're just always going to be disappointed. For me, I just want to make sure the Lakers win the first round. That's my goal. I never want to see my GOAT lose in the first round because that fraudulent GOAT, that bald-headed loser at gambling, he lost in the first round. He needed that Scottie Pippen boost. My GOAT don't need a boost.
Your team gets blown out by 20, and you're coming for the king.
I'm just making sure everybody knows.
The real king.
That's my real expectations for any LeBron team at this point in his career is just don't lose in the first round in that stacked West. That's all I need.
If the Spurs meet the Lakers in the first round, he's getting clapped. He's losing.
I don't know about that because I think they're pretty comparable teams, but then LeBron's going to elevate. Like they're comparable in the regular season. It really depends on if you think Wemby's going to elevate in the play. We haven't seen him in the playoffs.
That's true.
That's the thing. So that would be a huge test. I would actually like to see that matchup personally. But we're going to have to see. But
so you're saying this game was not a reality check for you as a Lakers fan. You already knew this about
dude, I've been telling everybody like I think I had the Spurs rated higher than the Lakers. Or like they were close. And then as Wemby keeps improving, that gap keeps closing, you know?
Like keeps widening.
No. Well, I think I had Spurs a little lower, but now they're pretty much dead even. Yeah, 24-point loss is weird, but like I said, a lot of it's variance. And the fires, like a lot of these guys lived in that area, so like maybe they're still not comfortable. Like,
JJ Redick, he lost his home.
Exactly. So the coaching, AR, LeBron, whoever, you got to be understanding of that variance. But yeah, I'm not surprised because if you legitimately think the Lakers are supposed to beat the Grizzlies or the Rockets or any of these good regular season teams in the regular season, you're just lying to yourself and you're gonna set yourself up for disappointment. We're just not that good.
You already seem a little disappointed. You seem a little.
Honestly, it's sort of like when you see your dad and he's like got a gut and you knew it, but you just never seen the gut. But it makes sense because he's like old now. It's like that vibe. Like I knew it. It's sad to see, but this is the passing of the torch. Wemby is honestly, I'm gonna say it for the regular season. Wemby is better than LeBron.
I was already saying that,
and
I'm glad you come on to the
and neither
the right
are top
side.
10, and neither are top 10.
Wemby's definitely top 10, but I'm glad you came on the correct side. Wemby is better than LeBron.
So credit to the Spurs, credit to Wemby. Again, we've talked about this. He shows up for the big games. This is at LA after the fires. Like eyes are gonna be on this game, and he doesn't back down, and I respect that. But yeah, as a Lakers fan, man, this is what you signed up for. Trading away D'Lo and getting DFS was supposed to help us, but if you were giving D'Lo 30 minutes and now you're giving DFS 17 minutes and then you're giving Max Christie the other minutes, that didn't fix anything. Max Christie is way worse than D'Lo. And if JJ Redick doesn't realize that, then he needs to leave this team. I think he does realize it. I think I'm being generous. I think they're just easing DFS into the lineup. But even when you get DFS into the lineup, what you're going to have is you're going to have 4 good players, AR, DFS, AD, LeBron. None elite, for the regular season, but all 4 are good. But then your 5th player is still Rui Hachimura. You're like an Indiana Pacers level team. Indiana Pacers are like 5th seed in the East, right? Because you got the Knicks, the Cavs, the Celtics, and then maybe the 4th, 5th with Orlando. West is more stacked. Pacers in the West would be like a 7th seed, right? I think you'd agree with that assessment. So for me, for the Lakers, my goal is 7th seed, 8th seed, make it through the play-ins, get into the first round, have LeBron step up into playoff mode, win the first round, and then we're probably losing the second round to the Nuggets or the Mavericks or OKC. Those are probably the 3 top teams in the West, and all are pretty bad matchups for us. I don't need to explain the Nuggets to anybody. And then, the Mavericks, it's pretty tough for us because they got Gafford, they got Lively, they got dudes to throw at AD. Yeah, that's my expectations of the Lakers. So why would I be disappointed? I can't lose. Smile through the pain. Anyways, we'll be back with the previews in a couple minutes.
We'll be hitting the previews next. Alrighty, welcome back to another segment of the 50-50 show. I'm Omair. This is my brother Omar. Now we're on to the preview segment of today's show. We're going to be talking about the New Orleans Pelicans taking on the Chicago Bulls. As we know, Chicago Bulls are fighting for a playoff spot in the East, while the New Orleans Pelicans are hopelessly at the bottom of the West. Market has the Bulls favored by 1.5 with a total of 240.5. Omar, what are your thoughts on the game? What are you expecting tonight?
Well, I'm expecting Zion to play. He took the second game off from the back-to-back. Then he got suspended a game. But I believe he's playing today. And I'm pretty disagreeing with Market on this one. I have Bulls winning by around 4. So I think the Bulls are better. And then the Pelicans are worse than the Market does. And I also have 234 as a total. So I have this as a lot lower scoring. I think a big discrepancy is that the Market thinks Zion is pretty good. I think fans in general, their whole sentiment is that Zion is good, but he's inconsistent. He's got the injuries. He's not working hard enough. Boom, boom, boom. That and third. For me, Zion has fallen off. I did think he was quite good. I thought he was around Morant level and better than what Ant is currently. But because he keeps missing so much time, every time he steps on the floor, he's becoming less and less impressive. His ability to score, his finishing at the rim, his passing, it's getting worse and worse and worse. So at this point, I still think he's a good player in this league. He could be a starter on any team, but I don't think he's worth 2.5 points. I don't think he's some sort of superstar. So and I don't think the Bulls are particularly good, by the way, but I think the Bulls are being underrated here. From the Bulls' end, I think Josh Giddey and Lonzo Ball are both pretty underrated. I think the fans are pretty big on Lonzo Ball. They know how important he was when the Bulls had like second seed for a little while in the East. Everyone talked about Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball as that two-headed monsters of defense. But I think Josh Giddey is being really underrated. He's gotten a bunch of triple-doubles this season. He gets a high amount of rebounds for a guard, good passer, decent scorer. Yeah, he's a bit of a cone on defense, but most guards are. So I think the Giddler, as some people may affectionately call him,
if you will.
P. Giddy. He's just being underrated. I think Kobe White is underrated. He's pretty good. And I think he's questionable for today, so he's key for me in what I'm saying. If he ends up not playing, that could change some things. And then Chicago's weaknesses, the reasons that I think they're just not that good, are Patrick Williams and then Zach LaVine and Vucevic.
Really? The two best players are the weakest connect points.
Well, I don't think anyone is saying Vucevic is their second best.
Okay, fine. Vucevic isn't very good.
LaVine's a contentious one.
He's the first option.
I think most people won't even know who Patrick Williams is. But if you watch him, he's just not very good on offense, not very good on defense. He's just he's like a bench player who gets starter level minutes because that team has depth issues. And then Zach LaVine, I don't like his offense. I don't think it's as good as people think, and he's just an absolute cone on defense. He doesn't set screens at all, and when he does them poorly. So I think he's the major reason. And I don't even think this should be a controversial take because everyone wants to give the credit to the superstars or the highest usage players on the team when they win, right? Why can't we give them fault when why are the Chicago Bulls fighting to be in the playoffs? Because most people would agree with me. Lonzo Ball pretty good. Mm-hmm. If you've been watching, I think you would also agree Josh Giddey pretty decent. Most people are also high on Kobe White. I pretty much never see Kobe White slander.
I mean, game-winning dunk over Victor Wembanyama, a top 10 NBA player, is quite impressive.
DPOY.
Thanks for agreeing with me.
DPOY, right? A dunk over him is pretty crazy. Zach LaVine just isn't that guy. He's built to be that guy. He loves taking the shots. He wants the moment. But I never thought this guy was good in Minnesota. I still don't think he's good now. Andrew Wiggins was able to turn himself around, become more of a role player, a 3-and-D guy. Zach LaVine hasn't been able to do that. So yeah, I think he's the biggest issue on this team. And if they lose, I'm going to be looking for him to either have an offensive failure night, which he often does by halftime, or even if he turns around on offense, his defense is going to be absolutely atrocious. I think Zion should attack him. CJ should attack him. DeJounte might even attack him. He's really easy pickings on the defensive end. And then from the New Orleans end, Missy, their rookie, he's the worst player on the court. No offense to him. He's been getting a lot of rebounds, and I think some people have been liking him. I don't like him at all. I legitimately I have him below Bronny James. He has no offense. Don't like his defense. All he can do is grab boards.
So you're saying Missy is stealing a job from Bronny James?
No, I'm not saying he's stealing a job. I just don't think. I think of all the rookies I think of, I'm not going to list a bunch of them right now, but even the ones that are doing worse, like Alex Sarr, I think Missy is doing a tier below those guys.
Alex Sarr was the first pick.
Second pick, but he was doing pretty bad at the beginning of the season, though, right? So I had him rated lower, but Missy is worse than all those guys for me right now. And then but I'm not huge on that because I always admit rookie evaluation is a little harder for me. Like when you're in your second year, third year, when there's some data, I know what you're going to be before a lot of people do. But those first like 10, 20, 30 games, I'm not grinding the tape as hard as guys, and I'm not watching a lot of college either. So I don't have as much pretext as other people might. So, but I think he's pretty bad, but I could end up being wrong. But the more confident opinion, DeJounte Murray, absolutely overrated. I hated the trade. Atlanta absolutely fleeced them. Like, I don't know how this guy keeps getting jobs. He's not even a starter level player to me. He's a bench level player to me. He's not good. He turns the ball over permanently. He doesn't have a three-pointer. He shoots a bunch of middies, but he doesn't have a midi. Don't like his rim finishing. Doesn't set good screens and just doesn't set screens often. Okay defensively. I think people think he's better than he is because he gets steals, but he gambles for those steals. I just don't like this guy at all. And yeah, I think that's my biggest thing for me is he's a high usage player on the New Orleans Pelicans, and I think he's terrible. He's worse than Vucevic, worse than Levine. All the two weaknesses I mentioned. I think he's worse than them. The only players worse than him are Missy and Patrick Williams. So that's what I'm looking at in this game to be weaknesses. And obviously, if New Orleans win and I'm proven wrong, it should be off the back of a good Zion game. And yeah, that's really all I have to say to that. But I hope the Bulls can get it together. Or if they lose, this is just going to get them closer to blowing it up and trading some of those contender pieces away. Because I don't know what that team is doing, by the way. After you trade Alex Caruso, I don't know what the vision for this team is.
Mm-hmm. And DeMar DeRozan as well.
Oh, no, that's a logical trade. You don't want him on your team.
Okay, well, I don't like DeMar DeRozan either for my Kings, but you have to agree you're trading away your star player. You would think they would begin to blow up the roster. But they are middlemaning a little bit, which is why they're confusing.
Yeah. Like their intent is unclear. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
Okay, let's talk New Orleans. First for me, I think New Orleans will win. Why? Was because I'm told Zion is playing. Okay, well, they're probably going to win. And the reason I think that is because when Zion was healthy last year, this team had legitimate playoff chances. They won the play-ins in the West, and they almost made it, but they lost. I want to say to the Lakers, but don't hold me to that. They won the play-in. So a Western play-in team, I think, is better than the Bulls. That is how I view it. And you have to remember, Zion was doing that when his second and third options was C.J. McCollum and Brandon Ingram. They're good. They're solid. I don't think they're the greatest. And it was really off the back of his dominant, inside performances, the gravity he was drawing with his ability to just finish at the rim, get to the rim. It was just absurd. So you bring up the point where each time he comes back, he looks a little worse. I think when he comes back, he just raised the floor of this team so much. Even if it's not as good as he was before, it's still enough, I think, for him to win this game because it's 1.5. I think Zion can easily swing the game into the New Orleans' favor. So I hard disagree that will be you have them more favored than the market. I think if you're gonna, I agree with the market being close. I just personally think the Pelicans will win. And it's because of Zion. It's because it's what he does on the offensive end, his ability to dominate the rim. It really opened up the game for the role players as well. You can't underrate. And because he's underrated, he's a solid passer, really improved, I want to say 2 seasons ago or last season, combining his amazing rim dominance with the playmaking. That was really good to see, and that's when the Pelicans took a jump. So that is on the New Orleans side. Next for the Bulls, I think you're being a little unfair to Zach LaVine. I think you're being unfair to Zach LaVine. Here's why. First of all, I agree on Minnesota. He was okay, but his first couple of seasons with the Bulls, he was really good. He was a revelation for that squad, and I'll tell you why. Because his three-point shooting really improved. He was shooting on volume, being quite accurate, and he was combining it with his dunk contest winning level athleticism, the ability to hammer the rim, elevate. We know that. And then combine that with an outside shot, he was very deadly, and the stats reflect it. But then what happened? He got injured. He had to get some surgeries, and his athleticism has definitely reduced, so his offensive production has reduced. So I agree he's not the player he once was, but I cannot tolerate the slander towards my boy. He definitely had a season or two where he was quite good. And
let me ask you this. If they had Peyton Pritchard instead of Zach LaVine and just gave him the same amount of usage, I think he shoots like 15 times a game, who do you think is doing better? Who do you think Chicago have a better record under? Because for me, it's clearly Peyton Pritchard. Because if I'm going to have a cone on defense anyway, because the advantage of Zach LaVine is like he's like a guard, but he's taller, right? So he can guard a bunch of positions. He can't guard anything besides a Walmart trash can. So you might as well put Peyton Pritchard out there and get more offensive production. Do you disagree with me? You think LaVine is equivalent or even better?
I disagree. I think it's unfair because right now Peyton Pritchard, he loves shooting a three ball. He's like, I think 70% of his shot is threes.
Yep.
And that really works when you're coming off the bench. You're playing with the Celtics. You're playing with stars. To say you just take that production, that efficiency, mind you, the context he's in, putting him with the Cherokee Bulls, okay?
Hey, yo.
P. Giddy is your best player, right? He couldn't
set you up.
He couldn't hold a candle to Jason Tatum, much less and even Jaylen Brown too. Couldn't hold a candle to Jaylen Brown.
Giddy and
Jaylen Brown clears.
Nope, equal.
How many finals MVP does P. Giddy have? Oh, 0. How many Jaylen Brown? 1.
How many finals has Jaylen Brown been carried to? The number's getting pretty high.
It's just well, actually it's 0. He hadn't been carried to any finals.
I got you. I got you for a second, didn't I? I got you. Yeah. I got you. That Freudian slip.
It's when you debate people like these guys that it gets really difficult. Where they get you for 1 second.
It gets really difficult because you be getting caught in your lies.
When they debate against a greater person and they catch you for 1 second, you're lacking, and it really makes the whole day. So I'm glad to have made your day. You're welcome. Now let me get back to my point because you want to distract us. It's how you are. So we take Peyton Pritchard, put him in the Bulls. I don't think he's gonna be shooting that efficiently. I think his 3 ball is gonna get shut down. I think he gets shut down. Remember, Peyton Pritchard's creating his 3, shooting step backs. It's fun to watch, especially when he's 6 foot little guy just getting it done. Remember, he's playing against bench units. He's a bench player for the Celtics. He plays against other bench units. Have him playing against other starters.
He plays against starters. He plays against
sometimes,
starters.
But Peyton Pritchard.
Listen, I mean, that's just one player. You're keying on the player. I think Tyler Hero is better than LaVine. I think De'Aaron Fox is better than LaVine.
De'Aaron Fox, because he's better than both of them. He's a different tier, so you can't really.
So that's what I'm saying. LaVine is not good enough to be a first option. LaVine is not good enough to be a first option.
I agree. Because of those injuries, he is no longer good enough to be a first option. If those injuries didn't happen, I very much think he was. He could be, and he was. But yes, now he is no longer good enough to be a first option for a winning team. But I had to let that be known. The injuries really messed him up. But I think he's still solid. He's still a accurate 3-point shooter. He shoots at a good volume. I do agree his defense is lacking. But if he could move to a more, maybe off the bench, high usage role, or a role player type, more likely he should probably move to the bench because he's not good enough at defense to be a starter while not having the ball in his hands a lot. So I would like to see Zach LaVine maybe go trade to a contender coming off the bench. That could be really interesting to see. But yeah, that's another reason why I have New Orleans winning. The Bulls are kind of lacking. If your best player truly is P. Giddy, which I really don't think so. I think LaVine is a little better. If P. Giddy's your best player, you're cooked. And that's why they're not winning games right now, even being in the East.
Giddy is good. I've had a revelation about him.
Oh, yeah, revelation, just like he did.
Hey, listen.
Yeah.
That boy gets... I'm not going to get into that social commentary.
It's better if you don't.
Unfortunate, everything that happened around there.
Unfortunate.
It's just weird because that trade with OKC looks really bad because Alex Caruso is definitely a better player. You gave up the best player in that trade. But at that time, remember, they weren't sure if Lonzo Ball was going to make that comeback or not. You needed a point guard. That's the thing. So for me, I like Giddy at the point. I like Kobe White at the 2. And then it's sort of weird with Lonzo. I mean, Lonzo and Kobe can play the 2 and the 3. But this team is missing that 4 and the 5. Patrick Williams is a power forward. He's terrible. Vucevic, like I said, I don't like him. That's what I'm just confused what this team's trying to do. Yeah. But today, we're just talking about that preview. I got them beating the Pelicans. And you have the Pelicans winning.
Yeah, New Orleans. They're going to take this one.
All right, man. Anyways, I think that'll do it. It's around 9 o'clock, so we'll wrap up the show for today. We weren't able to get to all the previews that we wanted, but there were some pretty heavy games to unpack. But we'll be back tomorrow around 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. East Coast Time, and we'll go for that 2 hours just like we've been doing. But yeah, hopefully everyone enjoyed the show. I had fun debating these shows. Sad to talk about the Lakers. Don't want to keep doing that every time.
That was fun.
I
enjoyed myself. You guys rewatch, you could tell I was having a good time. Yeah, and it's always fun winning debates. So
you enjoyed your Knicks losing to the Pistons.
Another day, another W. Another day, another W for your boy. So,
anyways, but yeah, hey, have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one, y'all. Bye.